Hey guys, my name is Ian. I am Ian the Reader. Welcome to another video. I hope you're doing well today. Today I am back with episode 4 of What's Up Wednesday, my weekly update in which I just discuss what's going on with me as far as my reading goes. So, for last week, I had a pretty dang good reading week. I finished 4 books and I started a couple as well, and I'm super excited to talk to you about all that today. Before we jump into that though, it would mean so much to me, just so much, if you would like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I do post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I would love it if you stuck around for those. But let's go ahead and talk about the books that I finished last week. So like I said, I did finish 4 books last week. It was a very productive reading month. I finished, reading week. I finished quite a few books that I was in the middle of, and then I also started and finished 2 books, I believe. So let's talk about what I finished first. So the first book that I finished was one that I said I was going to finish, and I'm super excited that I did. That is Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro. If you haven't checked it out already, I do have a review for this up on my channel already. I'll go ahead and link that down below, but it was okay. I feel really mixed on this book. And the longer it sits with me, the more mixed I feel about it, to be honest. I think it might just be me, though. I hope that you enjoy it if it sounds interesting to you. Just as a little recap, it is a historical fantasy book set in like the 1800s, and there's this, our world, and you go to a lot of different places like England and the US and Tokyo and things like that, but there's also this hidden world, and these children throughout the world have these abilities called talents, and this man made of smoke is after them, and these other people that are a part of this institute are trying to get them safely to this institute. There's a lot going on, but it just didn't work for me completely. There were some things that worked for me, some things that didn't. You can watch my review for my full thoughts on it, though. In addition to finishing Ordinary Monsters, though, I did finish 2 other books that I was working on last week, those being first Career of Evil by Robert Galbraith. I almost said Cormoran Strike. It's the Cormoran Strike series, book 3. This was a reread for me. I just love these books so much. They are so addicting, they're so easy to listen to, and the characters just really fill my heart with so much joy, and so I really enjoyed my reread of this one. It's maybe my favorite of the Cormoran Strike books. If not my favorite, then maybe my second favorite. I just really enjoyed book 3 again, though. It was such a blast to read. But then moving on from that, another book that I finished last week that I was in the middle of is Voice of War by Zach Argyle. I actually just finished this book yesterday, and I had a really great time with this. I'm not going to go too much into my thoughts on it because I do plan on filming a review for this book sometime over the next couple weeks. I think my next 2 weeks of book reviews, because I do book reviews on Mondays, I think I'm going to save this one for a little bit later. Just to give some brief thoughts on it, though, I thought that this was a really great novel, a fantastic start to a series. I loved how brief it was. It was ambitious, but not too ambitious, but it was only like a 12-hour long audiobook, and that felt really good. I wish it maybe had gone on a little bit longer, but not too much. I think that it was really well done. I love the magic system. I love the themes in here, and like I said, I'll talk about it more in my review and give my rating then, but this was a really great book to read. I'm so glad that I picked it up. This is a self-published fantasy debut, and it's a blast. It really is. If you have any interest in reading this series or want to get into more self-published fantasy, I think this is a great way to start because there is the ebook, physical book, and audiobook available. The narrator, Adam Gold, was fantastic for this audiobook, and it's pretty short as well, so if you're wanting to get into some more fantasy or more self-pub fantasy, this is a fantastic starting point. The 4th book that I did finish last week was one that was not on my TBR at all, but I am so glad that I read it. I am planning on filming a review for this and having it out on Monday, and that book is The Jade Setter of John Loon by Fonda Lee. This is a novella, it's not a short story, it's a novella, that was put out by Fonda Lee originally a few months ago, but it was in a very limited printing, and it was quite expensive. I think it was $40 to buy it, but they just released it in ebook and audiobook form, so I listened to that, and man, it was so good to be back in this world. This book is set in the world of the Greenbone Saga, which is one of my favorite trilogies of all time, one of everyone's favorite trilogies of all time, to be honest. I mean, the Jade City books are just incredible, but it was so refreshing to be back in this world and to experience more of it. This is definitely a small scale story. It takes place before the trilogy, but there are some familiar faces in this story, and it was just so fun. It really was. I enjoyed getting to see kind of different angles of the world because you're very much submerged in the thick of this political situation in the trilogy, and so just to kind of step back a little bit and get the perspective of a smaller clan and just a smaller character who's not as pivotal to the progression of this gigantic overarching story. It was really refreshing, and I just had a blast with this. Again, I'm going to film a review for this and have it out on Monday, so I'm not going to give my rating, and I'd like to talk about it a little bit more in depth, but just know that this was so good. It was so good. But those are all 4 books that I finished last week. Now let's go ahead and talk about the books that I am currently reading. So as far as books that are still on my currently reading shelf from last week, we do still have Uzumaki. I have not made any progress in it. I kept thinking I was going to have time to sit down and read physically, but I just haven't. And I know it's going to be like such a breeze to get through once I am able to get back to reading this physically. I just haven't had time yet. So hopefully this week I will have time to finish up Uzumaki. It is still so good. I'm still really enjoying myself with it, but I just haven't had time to read physically yet. I have been doing some ebooks, which I'll get to, but Uzumaki has been on my shelf for a little bit, so we'll get back to that this week. In addition to that though, I was starting Hyperion last week, and I have made quite a bit of progress. I have been listening to this on audio slowly, just because it's pretty dense and I don't want to miss anything. So I found where I'm at in the book, and I am like almost exactly halfway through. I just got to chapter 4, which, if you're familiar with Hyperion, it's divided up. Well, how this story is basically told and what it's about is these 7 individuals are chosen for a pilgrimage to this planet Hyperion, and there's all this stuff going, or Hyperion, it's not Hyperion, Hyperion, and there's all this stuff going on, but essentially the book, at least book 1 of the series, is all 7 of the individuals telling their story, because all of them have a backstory involving Hyperion and they're being called back to this planet, and so it's each of them telling their story of how they ended up in this situation. So I am now on the 4th story. The first one was the priest, the second one was the soldier, the third one was the poet, and now I can't remember, I think the 4th one is the scholar, and everyone says that this one is quite emotional, so I'm very eager to read it, but I'm nervous as well. As far as the stories go, I have really enjoyed the first one a lot. The priest's tale was really great. The soldiers kind of started off weird and ended weird, but I still had a good time with it. And the poets so far is my least favorite of them, but I've still got quite a bit to go, about half the book. We'll see if I finish it this week. I won't be upset if I don't, because I am enjoying taking my time with it, but we'll see. I am also currently doing a reread of Summer Night Book 4 in the Dresden Files. I just always like to have a reread going that I can just pick up casually if I'm like in the middle of doing something and I can't give it my full attention. And so I decided to go ahead and pick up the 4th Dresden Files book, because I'm just slowly doing my reread. At some point, maybe once I've finished doing all a reread, or maybe before then, I'll make like a Dresden Files ranked video where I talk about my least favorite to my favorite of the Dresden Files books, because there are 17 of them and they're all of varying quality, but I love them dearly anyway. But yeah, I'm enjoying my reread of that. I'm only a couple hours into it, but it's really good so far. I really enjoy book 4 of this series. This is when it really started to get good for me. Book 3 was like not great the first time I read it. I enjoyed it more upon reread, but book 4 is where things really started to pick up in quality, in my opinion, so really enjoying that reread. The last book that I am actually currently reading is called Black Mouth by Ronald Malfi, or Malfi, I'm not really sure how you say his last name, but this is a horror author that I've been wanting to try for quite some time. He has a lot of books, but he recently came onto my radar with his most recent release. I think it's called Come With Me or something. I'll go ahead and put it right here. But he's just grabbed my attention, and I've wanted to start his books. I've just kept putting it off, but I did get a digital arc of this new book, Black Mouth, and I am super pumped to try it because, well, I say I'm super pumped to try it. I really didn't mean to try it. I had it on my Kindle shelf, and I just saw it, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to pick up next as far as an ebook goes, and so I was like, I'll read a page of this, and then I was 10% in, and I was like, oh shoot, I'm hooked. And it really is fantastic. Some of the books that I've been reading physically lately haven't had like a really gripping prose and writing style, but this one just absolutely hooked me immediately. Like, not a lot had happened yet necessarily, but his writing just grabbed me immediately and took me away, and I am loving it so far. I don't expect to finish this in the next week, to be honest. I just don't have, like I said, a lot of time for physical or e-reading. Audiobooks are really where my reading is at right now, but I'm going to slowly enjoy this book. Maybe not so slowly though, because I got through the first like 15% pretty quickly, but I'm very eager to get into this one. If this book is a horror story that a lot of people are comparing to it revolves around some individuals who have left their hometown because of some dark things that happened, but now through circumstances that are not pleasant, they are called back to this town and have to grapple with the demons of their past. So it seems very it-ish, but I will say it is not like that at all yet. Just the circumstances of the main characters and them coming back, it's not like there's somebody at the city trying to call them back saying, you gotta come and face this evil. And I don't really know what the background is from their childhood, but I'm very eager to get a little bit deeper into this novel and find out more about it. I'm having a blast with it though, and I'm super excited to be reading my first Ronald Malfoy book. The only other book that I'm planning on possibly picking up this week is Hamnet. This is my last 5-star prediction aside from Hyperion for quarter 2, so I do need to make some progress on this pretty quickly because I only have the rest of the month to finish it, but I'm really excited about it. I've heard that this is a beautiful and moving and quite upsetting book, so we'll see if I get to this week. It might be next week. It'll be soon, but I'm gonna try this week. And then normally in this series, I do talk about what books I've recently acquired. That being said, on Friday, most likely, unless I decide to move the schedule around a little bit, on Friday I'm planning on having a book haul video out, my first in like 6 months or something like that. So keep an eye out for that. I decided to put off featuring any more books in this video because of the fact that I have that book haul coming on Friday. So that's it for my weekly update for What's Up Wednesday episode 4. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what books you are in the middle of or what books you just finished. I would love to discuss those with you guys. For me, I'm really enjoying Blackmouth right now, but I'm also very excited to get deeper into Hyperion and see how I end up feeling about it. It was one of my 5-star predictions for quarter 2, so I'm hopeful that it will be a 5-star. It could go either way right now though. I am enjoying it overall, but we'll see. But again, that is all for this video. I truly appreciate you watching, and I will see you on Friday. Bye.